Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, taking out some fun and exciting news for you guys today because it seems like in 2026, Sega Arcade emulation just cannot be stopped. And now today we're going to be talking about Wanszai's new emulator for both Virtua Racing as well as Virtua Fighter that'll run on the Xbox 360 and by extension the Xbox Series X. And honestly, 2026 has been a hot year for Sega Arcade emulation. We have Wang Model 1 for Virtua Fighter, we've also seen a bunch of stuff on the Techno Parrot side of things for Chihiro, and now we have two different emulators that have been improved upon and brought over to Xbox 360, and that's absolutely outstanding. Because I will say right now, outside of the remake of Virtua Racing we got a few years back, this is by far the cleanest, nicest looking Virtua Racing I have ever played outside of real hardware, and even more so because obviously it now has 16:9 widescreen support as well as internal running resolution bumps to get a crisper Virtua Racing. And in the Wang Model 1 video, people have been saying Virtua Fighter is fun, but everyone wanted Virtua Racing to get improved, and that day has come today. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But I still remember when I was a kid going into my local arcade, the Dream Machine in Vermont with my father, and seeing a Virtua Racing cabinet in the corner that had replaced a hard driving cabinet. I sat down, I put some quarters in, and I definitely absolutely fell in love with the game and realized just how good 3D could be. Because this released in an era in which 3D at home basically was a non-existent concept. We were fully in the realm of 16-bit Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. So this game was absolutely iconic, and it showed not only could Sega make an amazing 3D game, but it really was their start in 3D racing. And if you know full well and you watch the channel, I still think Sega is the best developer of 3D arcade racing games ever made. And Virtua Fighter brought us stuff like Daytona USA, it brought us stuff like Scud Race, Outrun 2, and all the other Sega absolute classics out there. This is where it foundationally got its start within Sega's headquarters in Japan, so to say this game was influential and important would be an absolute understatement. And now with better emulation, you're just going to have a better time playing some of these original Sega Model 1 games. Now you will see here Virtua Fighter also exists, and I will leave a link to the repos down below, and it also supports 16:9 widescreen. Now of course a little bit of the 2D elements are never going to extend out because that's basically how these widescreen modifications work, but I will say when we're in game here, again, it is a very effective emulation of Sega Model 1 hardware. The hit detection seems to be completely correct as far as I can tell, and my feel is like Wang Model 1, and that's something that MAME still has a little bit of a struggle with on the hit detection. Apparently a lot of the hair animation and a lot of the things that will fall to the ground like the headbands are also affected by hit detection. When MAME brought those in, the hit detection kind of suffered, which is really interesting just how intrinsically close the code is tied to the hit detection and the actual physics in the game, which does make sense, but that is why these things can be difficult. There's so many interconnected layers to everything, you really have to figure out exactly where all the problems are and go from there. But I will say Virtua Racing really is the start of the show here, because this is a game that absolutely everyone loves and has been asking for better emulation for a very long time. And now that day is here today. Well, technically it was yesterday, but I do have to actually do the voiceover. And I'm not quite sure when I'm going to schedule this one because we do have the holiday weekend coming up. And honestly, lately it's been a scheduling nightmare because we've been absolutely spoiled for choice in arcade emulation improvements as well as all the different decomps, recomps, and PC ports going on. But I will say Wanszai absolutely nailed the brief because this controls and feels like Virtua Racing, and that is what really matters. Sure, if you had a visual glitch here or there, it might not be perfect, but it wouldn't affect your enjoyment of the game. But if the physics and handling system in Virtua Racing were off even to a slight degree, you wouldn't enjoy playing it. And I will say it plays and feels exactly like I remember from original hardware, and having played this game a metric crap ton. And that is to say, it's still a little bit loosey-goosey because the physics system here definitely had a little bit of an ability to break out the ass under the car and throw you into the wall, but that was a lot of the fun of Virtua Racing. And of course, again, this is basically the precursor DNA to what happened in every single other Sega arcade racing game out there. And as far as the visuals are concerned, definitely looks like Virtua Racing to me. Didn't really get any massive glitches or anything else. I just sat down, started playing, everything worked perfectly, and I stopped thinking about it was emulation. But first, the two soundtrack samples, and I'll be right back with a lot more news. I mean, that definitely sounds like Virtua Fighter to me, but you leave me a comment down below and you tell me what you think, because I often say in videos, I have two tin ears, and honestly, if something's slightly off in the audio department, 99 out of 100 times, I'm just not going to see it whatsoever. The nice thing is this comes in a complete package for each game as well. You're going to have option menus, you're going to have the ability to change filtering, even add scan lines if you so wish. You can change the difficulty and the timing of both Virtua Racing as well as Virtua Fighter, and that really is awesome. This feels like something that Sega would release and sell to people if Sega was actually interested in selling all of their own games. You can play around the controller settings, and if you have a wheel and pedal set that will work with the hardware, then you're going to be able to play that way as well, which is definitely the way I recommend. It just has a better feel when you're actually using that hardware. As we jump into the next race here, I will say that this game absolutely still looks iconic, and that is why you see this overall style used today in modern racing games. The flat shaded polygons just age so well versus them having textures, and those textures being a little pixelated and blurry. That is why these games are still in everyone's imagination, and that's why when I talk about arcade emulation updates and news, people always ask me in the comments if Sega Model 1 has seen any sort of improvements, and now with Wanszai's new emulators, it absolutely has. And again, it's one of those things. Virtual Racing never worked in 16:9 in arcades. It never drew at this internal running resolution. It was obviously a standard definition game in 4:3. So that alone, getting these improvements is just so much better than even if you went into MAME. And that is definitely a win in my book. I just really love that we have so many different options for arcade emulation right now, and I'm sure MAME will definitely improve, and I know in Virtua Fighter it's seen some code commits since the Wang Model 1 emulator went live. So all of these improvements, all of these developments end up going into basically every single emulator out there, so that at the end of the day, you have a lot of amazing options to play some of the most iconic Sega arcade racing games of all time, and Sega fighting games as well. And that really is what Virtua Racing is. It's a stone cold, straight up Hall of Fame first ballot icon of arcade racing, and still to this day it's absolutely fun. And honestly, with the technicality of the racing here, and the fact that you're basically just challenging the timer, trying to get first place, this is something that you could really put some hours into, trying to figure out the exact best racing line in every single course, and really just trying to speedrun the game against yourself, trying to get the best hot lap you possibly can. And in my time playing these games, I was able to finish them from start to finish, complete races with no crashing or freezing or anything else going on. Let's go into the second of two soundtrack samples, some of the music from Virtua Racing, because again, the game doesn't have all that much music, and a little bit more from Virtua Fighter, and I'll come back and tell you how you can play these today if you want to. But enjoy! So just like Virtua Fighter sounds exactly like it should here in Virtual Racing, and you'll see, again, you can adjust the difficulty, you can adjust every single option that you would need in the arcade test menu before you actually jump into the game, and you even get these really nice splash screens with a lot of fun art on them. And honestly, Wanszai just absolutely keeps killing it with all of these ports over to the 360. We have Ridge Racer, we have Rave Racer, we have Dirt Dash, Ace Driver, Victory Lap, as well as the original Ace Driver, and now Virtua Fighter and Virtual Racing, and that is absolutely outstanding. As I always say on the channel, video game emulation is video game preservation, and honestly, none of this hardware is getting any more common, and it is a pain in the ass to set up if you don't have a cabinet to put it in. And even then, if you're like me and you collect arcade hardware, more often than not, you're spending time repairing things and not actually playing them, because you'll put something back in storage in the closet, come back to it 6 months later, and somehow it stopped working by doing nothing but just sitting in a box in a temperature controlled studio. If you can't tell, I'm a little bit bitter lately, because that is just what always happens. You look away for 3-6 months, and suddenly the thing that was working perfectly last time you played it suddenly will not boot and shows a black screen. So you end up spending 4 hours to fix it, and then by the time you're done and you do get it to boot, you don't even want to play it anymore. That is why I always tell people, don't be like me, don't collect arcade boards, just go straight to emulation. So if you want to play these too, the link to the repos are in the description below, and I can't recommend them enough. Short of that, we're done. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.